My Secret Garden is a groundbreaking book, and it was published, I believe, in 1973 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, the same week that Nancy Friday published this book, which was just women writing in their real sex fantasies, and it's extreme, right? Because we we have human minds. So there's incest and bestiality and rape fantasies and all the things that we think about that we would never do, right? Taboo
Mm-hmm.
things that give us a little charge. And so she put a call out. Women submitted their sexual fantasies and she published them. The
Mm-hmm.
same week this book was published, Cosmopolitan magazine ran an article citing some scientific research that proved that women were incapable of sexual fantasy. This is a very political book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I credit this book with my very dirty mind because this book came out as a teen when I was a teenager, and it was around the house and I read it. And it liberated my mind from the start that I could have any dirty thought and it was okay. There's no thought police. Just because I think it doesn't mean I want to do it. Um, so we want you to read this range of fantasies to give you some ideas for your own fantasies and also to know that anything that you think is okay.
He always said that there's no thought police. And she
Mhm.
had horrible fantasies at the end of her life. She's like, look, I'm 90 years old. You know what it takes to get the blood flow going? So I'm thinking about the most horrendous. She's like, I'd be jailed if people
Mhm.
knew what was going on in my mind.
Mhm.
Very often women would come to workshops and they'd say, I don't have sexual fantasies because our development, right, we're repressed right from the beginning. So we don't go there. Like, what if you didn't find this book in your home
Mhm.
and you got the messages from the culture or religion? Um, and Betty had a wonderful reply. She would say, did you put together an outfit this morning? Or did you cook a meal last night?
Mhm.
And they would say, well, yes. And that's a fantasy. You created an image in your mind. You said, oh, I'm going to wear my blue slacks with my whatever color top and this jacket and maybe a scarf. Or I decided I was going to make tagine and I was going to blah, blah, blah. And you go
Mhm.
through the whole thing. So for her, fantasy was simply forming an image in your mind. And we do it all the time. And to do it within the context of sexuality is quite important.
Yes, your mind needs to be engaged. I just see that Nancy Friday's work and Betty's work, that it was happening at about the same time. I mean, they both published books at that time in 1973. So Betty's work was really about liberating the body and sexuality. And Nancy Friday's work was about liberating the mind and sexuality. And fantasy so supports the body in masturbation and an orgasm that we need to free our minds too, as well as our bodies.
Because as women, we have multitasking minds. So we have a complex sex organ that needs a lot of blood flow. And then we
Mhm.
have this multitasking mind. So to distract the mind and focus on the body and get those two to line up, it's
Mhm.
very helpful to have a fantasy and tap into the things that inspire us because most things in the culture cater to the male model of sexual response. You're seeing little glimmers of it changing when I watch movies and
Mhm.
I see things and I go, oh, wait a second, that's for a
Mhm.
woman.
Yes.
So we're on the cusp of that change, but really connecting to that and
Mhm.
being able to have thoughts without shame
Right. Right.
really supports women to keep on going and get to that orgasm because it does take us a little longer,
Mhm.
right? We need an extra 10, 20, 30 minutes. So, how do we do that? We think something in our mind, we create a story, we have a fantasy. It's understanding, it's self knowledge.
Yes.
Right? To
Yes.
understand the things that appeal to me, and you kinda wanna know that before you die.
So, since fantasy supports masturbation and the mind, we have you starting to read the book My Secret Garden at the beginning of the masturbation module. But after that module, we have a whole module just on fantasy to explore. Start reading the book during this module and then continue through the fantasy module and just start liberating your own mind.